Human brain is an amazing organ. It is the motherboard of the human body and controls the functions of every other part of the body. When you become an adult, the brain is about 1.36 kilograms. We actually have a larger brain than a hippopotamus, a polar bear, a dog, and a dolphin. The brain is made up of about 1 trillion nerve cells. Wow! So, we are going to go on a journey of scientific discovery into the human brain. Let's go! The brain is made up of 3 areas: the forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. So, the top, middle, and bottom. The forebrain contains the telencephalon, which in itself has the cerebral cortex. This spot is the home of the cerebrum. The cerebrum is divided into 2 parts: the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere. The hemispheres are a bit confusing because the right hemisphere controls the left side of the body and the left hemisphere controls the right side of the body. The cerebrum is additionally split up into 4 parts. These parts are called the lobes. We have the frontal lobe, temporal lobe, occipital lobe, and parietal lobe. Each of these lobes have a special role in the brain. The frontal lobe is the largest of the 4 lobes. It is a part of the motor cortex and olfactory cortex, so it controls movement and smell. It also controls memory and cognitive function. Within the frontal lobe, there is the prefrontal cortex. This controls both abstract thinking and thought processing. The temporal lobe controls sound, so how we process what we hear. It also controls understanding and language and also visual memories. Within the temporal lobe, there is the fusiform face area. This area interprets faces. In the fusiform face area are the fusiform gyrus. These are high-functioning image processors. This area uses neurons to process faces and thus helps in the recognition of faces. The occipital lobe processes what we see around us. The parietal lobe processes touch-related senses. So, if we touch something hot, it is this area which tells our hand to move. Next we have the subcortical structures of the forebrain, which are below the cerebral cortex. First we have the basal ganglia. I know, it's a funny name. It controls movement regulation and how we learn skills. Within the subcortical structure, we also have the limbic system. The limbic system controls emotions. Within the limbic system, we have the hippocampus, not hippopotamus. If you look at the picture, it's the one that kind of looks like a seahorse. The hippocampus controls long-term memory and learning and how those memories are formed. Also in the limbic system is the amygdala. It's the one that looks like an almond. It controls the processing of our emotions like happy, sad, and angry, for example. Next in the forebrain, we have the diencephalon. That's a doozy of a name, isn't it? In the diencephalon, we have the thalamus and hypothalamus. The thalamus is the road from the sensory and motor neurons in the peripheral nervous system to the hemispheres in the central nervous system. The hypothalamus maintains homeostasis. This means that it controls the temperature of our body, the production of hormones, our appetite, blood pressure, and how thirsty we are. So, we have finished our discovery of the forebrain. So let's make our way down to the midbrain. The midbrain controls posture, walking, and eye movements. So though it is only small, it has a big role in the brain. Next, we make our way down to the hindbrain. It controls respiration, circulation, and digestion. Within the hindbrain, we have the areas of the medulla, pons, and cerebellum. The cerebellum controls coordination, balance, and movement. The medulla connects the spinal cord to the pons. The pons are the bridge between the cerebrum and the cerebellum through the cerebral peduncles or bridges. So these things are the road from the spinal cord all the way up to the cerebrum. So, we have finished our journey of the main parts of the brain. So let's go further into the other important parts, the nerves. Nerves are a bundle of axons. Remember those? Nerves are categorized into the region they send information to. There are motor nerves and sensory nerves. The sensory nerves, through sensory neurons, carry impulses to the brain and spinal cord. Motor nerves use motor neurons to send impulses to the muscles and glands. Neurons, like nerves, are either motor or sensory. They are cells that make up the brain, spinal cord, and nerves. They receive stimuli and transmit stimuli to the areas of the brain where it is processed. Now that we have finished our journey of the brain, I was wondering, do you ever see faces in inanimate objects like buildings, kitchen appliances, and cars? It's really common. It's actually called face pareidolia. Well, remember the fusiform face area? Well, this is the area where it occurs. What happens is, when you see an image, the image is sent as messages through the neurons of the brain. These messages go to the fusiform gyrus in the temporal lobe. The gyrus, if the message is too vague or sent too quickly, can mistake the image or try to make a definite image. They use memory to identify objects. If we have been looking at faces every day, the gyrus quickly make the assumption that what we are looking at is similar to a face. Think about it. If we look at a house, it has windows that are in roughly the same place as eyes would be, and a door around where a mouth would be. So, the brain gets confused and interprets a face within the building. So, that is how face pareidolia occurs. Isn't the brain awesomely weird? Well, I hope you enjoyed discovering the human brain and learnt a lot. Thanks again.